Yeah, 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 yeah.
Drug addicts.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah.
What's going on, everybody? This is Nate. Welcome to another episode of the Paradigm Speaks edition of the Paradigm Show. I'm actually here with my very first guest on the show, my Gary brother, Mr. Josh Sims from the Kid from Gary podcast. What's going on?
Brother, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Blessed. What about you?
I'm doing fantastic, man. Can't complain. Life is great, man. Happy to be on your platform, man. And I'm happy to be your first guest, man. This is going to be, I know, one of many.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
One of many.
Absolutely. So before we get into what we'll be talking about today, I want you to tell us a little bit about what you do.
Man, thanks for giving me this opportunity. My name is Joshua Sims. I am the host of the Just a Kid from Gary podcast. I'm also an entrepreneur, the co-founder of Too Easy Clothing company. And I am also an architectural designer / planner. Currently working at an architecture firm in Indy, and basically devoted even portion of that time to coming up with architectural plans, economic plans for the city of Gary, man. The GI. So
the 219.
The 219, baby. So yeah, man, that's a little bit about me. I'm pretty much I like to say, you know, I believe I'm just this energy to come and inspire. So if I inspire you through my hard work and my ethics and, you know, everything that I do and everything that I touch, man, if I'm able to just inspire people, you know, to do their thing, you know, that's kind of like my main mission in life, you know. Okay. Besides, you know what I'm saying, helping others through design. So
I feel that. So today, this episode is pretty much a tribute to the late great Chadwick Boseman, Black Panther, T'Challa. I was in Atlanta, Georgia when I got that news. My mom had texted me saying Chadwick Boseman died, and that just pretty much ruined my whole vibe for the night. I mean, I don't know about you, but that really hit me deep.
Yeah, bro. I was in Miami, Florida. Literally, I was out with some family, and I had seen look down at my phone, got one message, and then just a bunch of messages started coming through about Chadwick Boseman passing away. And yeah, man, you're right. It hurt. It hurt because it was like, man, his brother, he was young, he was gifted, he was talented, and you know, he left the scene pretty early, and it was a shock to the entire world.
When you say early, 43 years young.
Yeah, man.
That hit us. But, you know, even though he's gone, you know, he left behind some gems.
True.
You know, I think should be passed down to mainly, you know, people that look like us.
Yep.
You know, people that need that motivation and inspiration
to
keep them going. Because to me, you know, Chadwick, you know, he had colon cancer. He was battling it for 4 years?
Mm-hmm.
And nobody knew about it. But this man, in that time, he gave us 7 movies?
I think so. Yep. 7 strong movies too.
7 strong movies.
Yeah.
So, you know, one thing that he talked about a lot was, you know, finding your life purpose.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Chadwick Boseman, I believe, you know, in everything that he portrayed, he lived his life with purpose. Like I said, you know, it's hard to battle a disease like that, nobody know, and still keep pushing.
Right.
And, you know, I've always believed that when it came to purpose, you know, that's something that's your gift.
Yep.
You know, something that you do that doesn't really require a lot of effort.
Yep.
You know, Chadwick, you know, his purpose was inspiring the world through acting.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with the characters that he played, you know, like James Brown,
Mm-hmm.
a very iconic, you know, musician
Mm-hmm.
and a performer in art culture and African American culture. You know, he played King T'Challa, you know, Black Panther.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he played
Jackie Robinson.
Jackie Robinson, there you go. Thank you,
he
man.
played Jackie Robinson.
I had spaced out for a second.
No,
he
you
definitely
good,
played
brother.
Jackie Robinson. You know, those 3 characters alone, you know, that really, you know, played a part.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to finding your purpose, you know, like I said before, I've always believed that that's something that you do just naturally. Like,
right.
You know, he had a gift for acting, and he demonstrated that gift to the world. You know, it's not something that, you know, it's something that you do effortlessly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like my purpose is, you know, mentoring and helping, talking to people. You know, I love talking to people. I love, you know, giving people advice for those that choose to listen. You know, as I feel like my purpose on this earth was to help people, because, you know, helping people is something that I do pretty much in my sleep. You know, like your purpose was, you know, architecture, design. You know, leading the world through design and structuring and building. You know, if you want to speak a little bit on that.
Yeah, man.
What led you to that?
Well, for me, purpose. What led me to my purpose was I ran upon my purpose by accident. I didn't know that I was going to be an architect or practice architecture. I didn't know none of that, bro. So like crazy story was when I was a kid, I grew up in Gary, obviously. I grew up on the east side, so did a lot of east side activities and
Glen Park East Side activities.
No.
Park?
But I was actually more in the Pulaski area.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
And then I lived in Glen Ryan, so then I was in that area, and then even closer to the beach too. So there was a lot of back and forth. But I really didn't have a goal or just this like future of what I wanted to do, to be honest. You know, I didn't really have that mapped out for me, you know. I was one of those guys that kind of live life vicariously through others. You know, I would, you know, even back then, I remember I would want to help influence others around my neighborhood, man. So I remember there was this guy who could like hoop his butt off, man. He was a great hooper. I could tell. He was just, you know, when you're able to tell it's just natural talent. Like, I'll be out there, I can win some games, you know what I'm saying? But that, you know, it's gonna take some hard work. This guy just naturally had it, you know what I'm saying? Very talented brother. So I was always like, man, you should go to school. And he was like, man, dog, I'm a trapper, man. School's not for me, basically.
Right.
And I was like, man, like, I don't know, man. You can get paid for it, all this other stuff. So like, even back then, I didn't realize my purpose was inspiring others. Like, even back then, I just wanted to help, like, even in my innocence. And I didn't really know what I was going to do, but I entered high school, and my grandmother, unfortunately, she passed away, and then fortunately she gave her house to my family, and so we were able to move out of the city of Gary, but we moved it to Crown Point, and there, you know, I ended up going to Maryville because, you know, they play that border thing up north. So if you literally are teetering on the border, you got to go to the school district in which, you know, more minorities fit.
Quote unquote.
Yeah, exactly. They won't tell you that, but that's what they're insinuating. And so I got to the point, man, where I had to just embrace this new concept of going to a different school. This was the first time I ran into white people. I had never seen this large amount of white people before, like actually in a space and place, and where I could like talk to them. Like, you see them passing by, or you might, you know, see them in a public place, but at school it was different. And so, man, I remember, man, like, this was the first time I actually seen like black people happy for education. Dog, this is the first time people was like, man, I'm going to school, I'm doing this, I'm going to do this, I'm playing sports, I got this scholarship going. Like, these were people like that were excited about school.
I feel that. That sounds like a different world.
Bro, it was completely different from where we grew, because you knew we was literally fighting every day. Yeah. We was literally into some nonsense. You know, we had to, you know, in class, we weren't even paying attention. The teacher spent literally majority of the time period trying to chastise us and get us to act right. So by that time, man, I'm almost in a shell shock. Well, I get to this point where I have to take some classes, and I go to this point where I got to take prereqs. Now, the prereqs are basically, you know, your math, reading, all of that good stuff. And I talked with my student advisor and counselor, and she asked me, what do you want to do? I was like, I don't know. So she just threw me into these like building trades, mechanics, engineering, electrical, CAD classes, all this stuff, right? She just put me in, like, just try it. Let's see what happens. I got into CAD. I did all of the classes, but I'll talk about one specifically. I got into CAD, CAD. CAD basically is a computer software where it turns your 2D drawings, or excuse me, you're able to create 2D drawings on a computer. And I got to the point where I really started enjoying it. The teacher seen that, so he invited me to his accelerated class for the next semester. That next semester, we got into this program called Revit. And in that program, I was able to take basically that 2D concept and turn them into 3D. So I was like, oh, dog, this is different. Then he enters us into a competition. Now, by the way, I did not sign up for it. I was just a student. He put us into this competition. It was for the AIA, the American Institutes for Architects, and the goal or the concept was to design a building, an Italian hostel, for 4 college students. All 4 of them had different specialities within art. So one would actually paint. The other one was into music. The other one was into maybe I think it was vocals or maybe something like that. However, all art, right? So basically what I did was I designed each space for each student. I designed exactly what they wanted. I won first place in the state of Indiana. Wow. AIA first place. It was huge. And I realized something, man, instantly. We grew up in Gary. We hustled and bustled. We didn't see the day of light as far as what we went to. Now, some people are, I'm not going to say like, some people wanted to go to college. Some people wanted to do amazing things. And some people knew they was going to do amazing things. But I wasn't one of those guys. And at that moment, I realized that I could put my mind to something, dedicate a little bit of time, and get significant results.
That's it.
And that's when I locked in on my purpose. Then there was my teacher at that time. He said, Josh, I really do think you could be a great architect. Why did he tell me that, man? Because I'm like the Michael Jordan. Like you tell me something, and then I'm like, I'm gonna go do it. So he tells me that, and I'm like, well, where would I go? You know what I'm saying? Where would I go to like study or like get an architecture degree? I never heard of like architecture like up until that point. Like I didn't understand it, right? So he started repping out some schools. Like you can go to Notre Dame. Notre Dame has a good very, very good program, but they're a private school. So take that into consideration. He said Purdue. He had mentioned Purdue. Now you could get like a draftsman. You can go there and get like an engineer, maybe even be a technical drawing. I don't know if you can actually become a licensed architect from Purdue. And then he had mentioned Ball State. And I looked up all 3 of them, and Ball State was the one for me. So I ended up going there after I got a degree in design technology from Ivy Tech. Wow. So yeah, man, that's my story of how I got to, I would say my 3D purpose. I believe in a more of a 4D, 5D dimensional type of purpose too, because that purpose is more of a spiritual purpose. And the spiritual purpose is what I'm here to do to like help others, like the true mindset change for others. And when I say others, I mean my people, people like that looks like me. And I'm very passionate about us taking ourselves and getting us out of the rut that we're in, like so many of us are passionate about. But I am passionate about really truly looking at the true problems that we face every single day and how to get out of those problems as far as the economics. I think that most of it is economics, because once we free our mind, we able to free our pockets, basically. Absolutely. So yeah, man, that kind of gets you into kind of like where my purpose is kind of originated from, the origins of it.
Right. Not so going back to how Chadwick had a saying, when he gave the speech to the Howard University graduates, he said, when you're at the hilltop of your life and you're not sure whether or not to pursue a career or get a job, it's better you find the purpose of your life. Mm-hmm. As I've said before, your purpose is something that you just do, like with no problem at all. Like, but a little bit of my background, with how I got into speaking, I was the kid that got voluntold, keyword voluntold, to do the Easter speeches and the church announcements at church. Mm-hmm. So I didn't want to, but I didn't have no choice. Mm-hmm. So fast forward some years later, like I said before, I've always loved helping people, giving advice for those who choose to listen. And so I get to college, I joined this group called Student African American Brotherhood, which I was actually a past president of. And, we had to go to these conferences. And, these conferences, I heard these dynamic speakers, the Robert Jacksons, the Brian Heats, shout out to them. Mm-hmm. They just poured life by just using their voice. And I just looked at them, I was like, wow, it was like the way these people poured into my life, I want to pour into other people's lives. And, again, being from Gary, I've seen people, who, what it looks like when they don't get that good mentor, when they don't get somebody that pours into their life, you see what happens to them. So that's how, Paradigm started. I started this a couple years ago, just starting off small, doing presentations for youth programs, even in high schools. I was doing that up until about earlier this year because, COVID had hit and, shut everything down. But, when I think about that towards what I wanted to go, what I was actually going to school for, I got a bachelor's of political science because, see, I thought I wanted to be a lawyer.
Okay.
But it turns out I don't like arguing with people. So that ruled that up. But, it's like this is something that I do effortlessly. That's something I believe that, I was put on this earth to do. Your purpose is what you were put on this earth to do. And this is, as you said, spiritual. Like, God put you here to do this.
Yes.
So it's like
spiritual.
you got to follow instructions. Like God tell you to move, you got to move. I'm not trying to preach too much on here, but that's how I connect that to purpose.
Gotcha.
And I feel like Chadwick Boseman did that. He did what God put him here to do. They wanted him to act. He acted, and he told his story through acting. He told stories through acting, and in the characters that he portrayed, and did a bang up job doing it.
I was thinking about this. I study African history a lot. And one thing that I came to a better understanding is that our African ancestors, they have ways of channeling and connecting to us. And a lot of times we don't know how that works, but they channel and connect with us. And sometimes they even like guide us on these paths because a lot of it is, we understand history and everything like that has been tainted, has been destroyed. And I really looked at, Chadwick, and especially in Black Panther, and especially that scene of him going into the ancestral stage.
The ancestral plane.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when he was talking with his father, there is some reality to that.
Yeah, he told them they were wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, he came back. Exactly. He was like, gosh, y'all were wrong. And true enough, like, I believe that I not even believe, like, because I started getting away from these concepts of belief because I like to know. And like I said, through understanding like African ancestral history and even how things go down, they depicted kind of what we might experience. It's that they're able to talk to us, they're able to connect to us. And what I'm getting at is I believe that he did a great job of giving light to the kings and the great people that lived amongst us. Two great people in African American history, and then the character T'Challa. And just big ups to that, man. Big ups to that. But when you were talking about purpose and you saying that he did exactly what he was meant to do, I agree.
Absolutely. And that brings us to our second point. When it comes to your purpose, sometimes you got to fight for your purpose and what you're called here to do. You got to have some obstacles and some challenges that are going to get in your way. The second thing that Chadwick talked about was, being a fighter. Not only was he good at fighting in action films, he was also good at fighting in real life. Like we said before, he had colon cancer that he was battling for 4 years. Yeah. And in those 4 years of him battling that, he gave us 7 good movies. 7. And 7 represents completion. So that's something that I just picked up on, that 7 represents completion. So that's what that was spiritual.
Yeah.
What he was doing. He was moved spiritually.
Yeah.
This was beyond any physical means.
Yeah.
And then sometimes, like, when you come to your purpose, you have to move spiritually.
I agree.
A lot of earthly things are going to come and try to stop you. You could be in a relationship with somebody, the relationship not going bad,
True.
Not going good, excuse me. That can stop you. Your job ain't acting right. That can kind of slow you down. Or this pandemic we're dealing with right now, that slowed a lot of people down. But, you still got to get up and keep fighting. You got to keep pushing. It requires, you got to be a little thick-headed sometimes. I get told a lot that I'm thick-headed. But in some cases, that thick-headedness is what keeps me going. You just got to keep pushing through. Even in just coming out of Gary, we could have fell into certain traps, but we chose not to because we knew and how we were brought up. We realized we had a higher calling than where we were, and we want to go back and give other people that higher calling. That's another thing. You got to be able to give back. And like I said, not only fighting for your goals, but fighting for the people who may not know what they want to do in life. What's your take on that?
Help me out because it was a lot. It started somewhere, but where are you talking about specifically?
In terms of being a fighter?
Okay, boom. Thank you. So like, the fighter concept it is probably something that I have to be transparent with. You got to fight every day. You got to fight every single day. You got to fight until you literally stop breathing. Because this is something that's so true. We're a ball of energy. We have energy, and as long as we have this energy and we're connecting to these different sources of energy, we are able to become stronger through the challenges that we overcome. But we don't overcome those challenges unless we fight every single day. So think about it. Something might happen. Let's say, for example, someone has something happen to them physically. It's a struggle, obviously. I looked at the Kevin Hart situation, the Kevin Hart story. He had a terrible accident and messed up his back, fractured his back in multiple places. And Kevin Hart, when they told him, because obviously he's nervous, he don't know if he's going to ever walk again. And then they tell him, you'll be able to walk, but you gotta work your butt off to get back on your feet.
Yeah.
In his mind, he was like, I'm going to be better than I was before, because because I understand that there's an opportunity for me to walk. I'm going to go harder. And that's just a very good fighter's mentality. We have to understand that life is going to happen. Life is going to throw us some of probably the worst chips. But if we're not in a position, or our mindset is not in a position to fight every single day for what we want, what we need, the ability to grow, the ability to learn, then we'll end up in a state where we're allowing life to just take us, just to take advantage of us. And so for me, fighting is so important to me because I grew up fighting, to be honest, man. I had to fight almost every single day of my life. They had like bullies, you know what I'm saying? My sister, she literally would get into stuff and then be like, I'm going to go get my brother. And like, you know what I'm saying? Think about it. Like, your little sister come to you, they messing with me. Who? Them. I got to go beat up them now. You know what I'm saying? It's just that, It's just that principle. And so I literally like grew up fighting. So I understand that every single day it has to be a fight. Every single day I have to fight. So I fight for my goals. I fight for my family. I literally see my family being in a situation that they don't probably see themselves being in. And because I have that vision for them, I fight every day for their vision. I know that they don't think about it every day. I know that. I can see it. But for me, it's like, I know, and I can see that vision. So I'm going to fight for you. I'm going to be the advocate. And just like Chadwick Boseman, he fought even when he was sick. He was fighting. He was not only fighting cancer, but he was fighting COVID. I seen him put out a video, and literally like people, like his audience and members of his audience were very, very shocked to see that he had lost so much weight. Yeah. And they had thought that he was like getting ready for a role or something like that. But he was actually, fighting cancer. And he could have at that moment said, guys, I'm sick. I'm cancer. I have cancer. I don't know if I'm going to live or die. He could have said that, but he did not. Guess what he did? He was giving people pointers and advice on this thing called COVID. Because as a king, as a purpose-driven person, you must understand that it's not about you. It's about others. And he understood that. That's what purpose-driven is, and that's what fighting for your purpose is about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. When you brought up, the Kevin Hart story, I thought about Bruce Lee. He had that fighting mindset. They told him he would never walk again, much less fight. And, he meditated on that. He worked out, read the books, got his diet right. And before you knew it, he was back on his feet. And, what you said about, sometimes fighting also leads, you got to remember you're a servant.
Yeah.
First and foremost, you were put here to be a servant.
Yeah.
So, it's not always about you. You got to, in fighting, sometimes you got to fight yourself.
You better say that.
You know, you got to fight yourself sometimes. You know, sometimes you don't
You
want
gotta,
to wake up.
you gotta say
Sometimes
that.
you don't want to wake up in the morning. Fighting yourself means you got to get up and do something when you sick.
Yeah,
You got to get up and do something when you're tired. You got to
Yeah.
get something when you just plain don't feel like it. I'm
Yeah.
just keeping it 100.
yeah,
You know, like you said, Chadwick could have easily gave up and said, you know what, I got COVID. I can't do it no more. I need to focus on myself. But said, no. There's people out here that need my influence. There's people out here that need my leadership.
yep.
That's king-like.
That's king-like. It's king-like.
Because as a king and as a leader, you got to you got to fight to make sure your people eat. They got to make sure that they get home.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the third thing that, Chadwick brought to us was, make sure you're bringing life to the show. You know, what I got out of that was, when everything you're doing, you have to bring some form of life to it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like when I'm doing these videos for you all, I'm always thinking that, hey, what can I do differently? How can I make this look better? What different aesthetics can I use? You have your own podcast. You're always thinking, what can I do differently?
Mm-hmm.
Who can I bring on to help bring life to it? Who can I, how can I do this differently? How can I word this differently? You're always evolving, because if you just get stuck in the same thing the entire time, it just becomes dead. It's like people get used to it. And, you have to keep bringing life to yourself. I think that's, learning new things, growing in new things, continuously improving yourself, because like I said before, if you stay stagnant, that's like death. To me, that's like death in a way, because everything else is passing you by and you're just in this one spot. Would you mind elaborating on that?
Even to the point of bringing life to the show, I thought about being a light in a room is also bringing life to a show. Because when you walk into a room, someone should be able to get this feeling like, wow, this person is important, or this person is in tune with themselves. And I think about Chadwick. I guarantee you, he could walk in rooms and people would go, and maybe it was. I believe he could do that even before Black Panther, but I know for sure after Black Panther, it was so significant because I remember the NBA, not playoffs, but the what is it called? The NBA, the dunk contest, All-Star Weekend.
All-Star Weekend.
And I think it was Victor Oladipo did a tribute to him in the dunk contest. I think he dunked with a Black Panther mask on. And I remember how when Chadwick stood up, it's just like this level of respect in the room. Here's 50,000 people for sure, at these NBA All-Star Weekend.
Right, 50,000 plus.
Exactly. And this brother, literally, he stares up, the place is going crazy, but it's just respect. It's not feeling like it's more respect. And then, he does this, he crosses his arms and, that
The Wakanda
infamous,
forever.
the infamous Wakanda forever salute. And Victor does it too. And honestly, man, that's bringing life to a show, man. That's being a light in the room. You know what I'm saying? That's not that you should want to do that, but when you walk into a room, you're a natural light, just you being you. And that's what I got inspired off of. I want to walk into a room and people go, that brother's up to something, man.
Yep.
And and not that it's just a level of being proud, bro. It's just a level of being really in tune with some stuff, bro. Being able to change, being able to be this energy. I want people yeah, that brother right there. I don't know, but it's something about that kid. And so that's dope, man. That's how I take bring life to a show. Cause bro, you can walk in the room. Think about it. You could just walk into your classroom. How can you be the life of that show? You could be the janitor. How can you be the life to that show? You could be an architect. You could be an engineer. You could be a doctor. How can you walk into your law firm and be the life of that show? You know what I'm saying? It's just not about being on the big screen, because everybody can't be a movie star. Everybody just can't do it. But what we can do is be a life in the shows that we play every day.